Howdy, Ags. Welcome to Aggie Growth Hacks, the podcast sponsored by the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship at Texas A&M. And we're dedicated to helping entrepreneurs improve their business, connect with other Aggie entrepreneurs, and support one another. I'm your host, Greg Martin, Fighting Texas Aggie class of 2001.
And I'm your co-host, Chris Hunter, Fighting Texas Aggie class of 1998.
Well, we got a little story for Ags. 120. That's right, Ags. 120 red-ass episodes of Aggie Growth Hacks is coming to an end. We are wrapping up season 7, and we could not do it without you. So thank you so much for sticking with us. Thank you for the great stories, for the Ags that have come on and shared their business, shared their experience, and shared their hacks. We really appreciate you allowing us to learn from you. For the Ags that have been listening and maybe want to join us, hook us up. We'd love to get to know you and hear your story. But before we close out season 7, Chris, we had so many amazing entrepreneurs that came on in this season. You know, everyone from our first live in-person recording at the Angry Elephant. Shout out to Greg Jasper and the Angry Elephant team. With the Hong Kong Fooey hot dog. I hope you all have checked that out. to celebrating another Aggie 100 celebration and having Jenny and Sheldon, the fastest growing Aggie entrepreneurs with an absolutely mind-blowing amount of growth over the last couple of years. So we've learned a lot. We've talked with some good Ags. What were some themes or some things that maybe you've heard during this season, Chris?
Let's start with my overarching, theme of because I like to look back after each season and go, okay, what was the big thing that everybody talked about, or at least the majority of people talked about? What I heard as I went through all of our episodes again was it's more your business is better if it's more about the big organization, the big thing, meaning that people want to have and be part of something bigger. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of Aggies talked about it, in the terms of being an Aggie, right? It's about being part of something much bigger than them. Okay. But they brought that into their businesses with their BHAG, right? And with their vision for the company and letting the employees be part of all of that. Okay. And to share that vision and to understand this is where we're going with this company. This is what we want to do. And part of it, right? Like with David Trigg, he talked about this exact thing, but his BHAG itself was more about how he wanted to affect lives, okay, than actual like, hey, we want to get to $20 million or whatever that it is, which you hear from a lot of entrepreneurs.
Right.
It was more about how we want to affect lives, okay? And I absolutely love that. And that is part of that being bigger, right? Being part of something bigger. How about you?
Well, and I agree 100%. I think back to our conversation with Jose at the Stafford Theater. And I mean, you want to talk about someone who's got big plans, big goals to basically build a global ecosystem of entrepreneurs that support and help one another, to be able to say, okay, how can we have a goal? And not just, like you said, a pie in the sky goal, but a goal that's actually attainable. And that there's a path, there's a logical and a reasonable path forward for that. I had never thought of it in the terms that you just said. That, obviously a lot of Ags talk about being at A&M and being an Aggie and the Aggie network. And now that we're in the SEC, it's just different here, But seriously, to be able to take that mindset of being part of something bigger and knowing that you're a family in that. And I think that's another value. One of the things that I heard through it was family, treating and having your business kind of like a family. And I know it's not, some people like that analogy, some people don't. But I personally like it. And when I thought about Jenny and Sheldon with Staff DNA, the fastest growing Aggie 100 owned company, what was the thing that they said? I mean, that one of the challenges that they had was, you're growing so fast. How do you keep that family atmosphere when when she used to be in an office that was right next to the men's restroom, it was easy to know the 4 people that were in the office. But because now that they've exploded in growth and been able to really bring a lot of value throughout their operations, it's hard to do that. But that's where they had the listening. Remember, they talked about the happy hours and actually going in and listening to the employees to be able to know and to keep that family values isn't the right word, but that family atmosphere of saying you're heard and you're respected throughout that. What else?
Well, and Jason Anawati, right? Same thing, right? He has the free food Fridays, right? So as I'm looking back through my notes, there's several of them that keep that culture alive through that and that active listening. Yeah, I think, and this is something that I want to throw out here is that, you know, this is great for us to have this podcast. We've gone through 120 freaking episodes. I mean, that's amazing to me, but we have talked with 120 successful Aggie entrepreneurs. And throughout that, I've learned a lot, right? That's the whole point of doing this, is learning and growing myself as a visionary, as you know, the founder of my company, right? But here's the deal, and this is something that I started waking up to about a season or so ago. I'm like, okay, I'm getting all this knowledge. What am I doing with it? Right? Am I actually implementing it? You know, so I've got a coach, a business coach that says, you know, speed to implementation is huge in business, right? So the faster that you can get things implemented into your daily lives, into your organization, right? The better it's going to be, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to things like this right here, learn, right? But never implement, right? So I'm going to challenge anyone who is listening to this right now to go back through some of these episodes, write down what the big takeaways were for you, and start implementing them in your business now. Okay. And I saw that, by the way, Greg, with you, right? You worked for a bank up until, you know, what was that, 9 months ago?
Yep.
You now are an entrepreneur, right? You're fractional CFO. And I think that by talking with all of these great and successful Aggie entrepreneurs, that gave you, I feel, you know, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it gave you the confidence to go out and be an entrepreneur.
100%. And to be able to actually put action to it. There was, when I was thinking about taking the jump, you know, I talked with a couple fractional CFOs that have been in business for a while. One of them is, I mean, honestly, it was almost a mirror image of my career at a bank. He worked for a big bank for 16 years. I'd worked at the bank I worked at for 17 years. Similar roles, kind of taking that step. And he said, you know, the biggest challenge you're going to have is taking that leap, knowing and having the confidence that everything's going to be okay on the other side. And when you're on that ledge, staring into the abyss of, I've got a nice cushy W-2, a paycheck comes every 2 weeks. I get 401k and pension and vacation, and you know, I'm known, I know the systems, and now you want me to do what? To take that step? What the hell? That's you know, and the all of them said, and I think this is common, is that that's why starting a business is so hard. That leap of the unknown. But for me and for a lot of entrepreneurs, the pain of status quo was more than the pain or the fear of the leap. And, you know, this is not about me, but Chris, I'm in a position now where I'm overworked. Like, I am out of capacity.
Welcome to entrepreneurship.
That's right. I mean, like, I knew that I was going to work hard, but it's not, I mean, you know, it's like now it's to the point of I've rapidly gone to work hard to, okay, now how the hell do I build systems so that I can have my evenings back? I mean, I've got no problem working hard. Please don't hear, you know, I'm not complaining, but I also didn't start this company to work 70 hours a week. I'll do it if I have to, But there's a lot of entrepreneurs that we've been on here. I mean, hell, you look at, we talked about Greg Jasper. That's a dude that's got like 4 companies. And so it can be done to be able to say, okay, how do you build systems? How do you get that back? But it's these discussions with Aggie entrepreneurs that really does help. But I love how you talked about and had that insight of action. I think that in our pre-podcast meeting, you talked about how knowledge is great, but without action, it's fluff. It's nothing. I mean, it's vanity. And so when we sit there and you gain knowledge and then you work through it, I mean, think about like Chris Wilkie, the AI genius, and talk about a guy that has knowledge about not only what he's doing, but knowledge about how to serve clients, because he's been an entrepreneur for so long, and how important that is to actually apply both of those together into work.
Absolutely. And my coach says this and all the time, right? He says, money loves speed, right? And it's true. The faster you can implement those things, the better, right? I mean, I have a friend that, I mean, we go to these intensives, is what they're called, but it's 250, agency owners sitting together in a room learning from each other. She's done. She has implemented before that session is over. She has like literally designed it out and implemented whatever that it is. And it's the who, not how, what Greg Jasper talked about.
Yeah. Yep.
And just basically delegates every single bit of it out to her team, And if you don't have a team, that's okay, but it's a lot better, right? As I'm learning, I've learned,
get a team.
Get a team. Get a good team. It's the right people in the right seat that matter, right? The most on any organization. So yeah, there's lots of things, man, throughout this entire season that I've taken away and I've implemented. But the biggest for me that I've actually implemented is the who, not how. When I started doing that and started asking that question, right? And in my mind, who can do this instead of how do I do this? It's
right.
been a game changer, absolute game changer for my business.
Yeah. And I think that we also learned that with Doug Groves, with program insurance. I mean, so obviously, going back to talking about a family, his work family is his family, but that is, to be able to be part of an agency that covers and helps entrepreneurs, franchisors across the nation, you have to build a system, and it has to be who, not how, and to be able to kind of work through that. I love Jason Beasley's talking about, as he was growing, he talked about he was a one-man band going into COVID, and now, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, honestly, that's something that I struggle with is GPM Financial going to be Greg, or is it going to be grown and expanded out? And I've seen both types of business structures work. Each has their pro and their con. I mean, obviously, if you hire people, you have to advocate for them, you have to coach them, you have to lead them. If it's just me, I don't have any HR headaches. I mean, my boss might be a jerk every now and then, but that's okay. Make me work overtime without pay, but seriously, it truly is how do you do it? But Jason talked about the who, not how, and he actually started to grow and build his team so that he could start to do some of the things that he enjoyed and that he was really good at, some of that strategic advisory type stuff. But it's a who, not how.
Yeah. And he also talked, though, about taking time away. And I think that really, when it comes down to entrepreneurship, and when I say he, Jason Beasley was talking about that, right? About how he had to set a time for himself. And I think that is so important. But if you think about it from an entrepreneurship standpoint, and you even said this, I didn't get into business to work 60 to 80 hours. You got to have that me time. And really, entrepreneurship is about creating systems so that you do have that money freedom and time freedom, right? To do the things that you want to do And really, as visionaries, as the founders of your company, you have to take a step back periodically from your business to create that vision and to keep that vision going. Because without you, the business doesn't run, for the most part.
That's right. And I know that now more than ever, but intuitively, yes, that's right. But also I can see the trap that the entrepreneurs step in and say, yeah, but if I don't get it done, it ain't going to get done. And again, that's a fallacy. That's bad thinking. That's stinking thinking, as a preacher used to say. But you've got to get yourself out of that mindset to be able to say what is best for the company. And another thing that I heard throughout this entire season was value. And that's not only value in knowing what you do and valuing yourself by charging a fair price for your services. How often have we heard entrepreneurs that are struggling to make cash flow needs or whatever? Well, that's because you're providing the wrong value to your clients, or you have the wrong clients, or you're not communicating well enough that value. Brett Richards talked about one of the coolest things about his business is that he, as an auctioneer, is that he would go in and see value in people's lives when they had those the auctions to clean out the house and stuff like that. And he would be able to make that connection with the crowd, communicate the value of this is not just an antique desk. This is a desk that's been around for generations and that has seen countless numbers of bills and important letters and family decisions made on it, and then be able to communicate that value to the buyer, and then having the buyer actually give money for that.
Yeah. And really, any business that can communicate that, right, is one that is actually going to win, in the end, because you got to know your own value. You got to be able to communicate that. And I 100% agree with that. So,
yeah. Will Hancock with Brazos Residential, the one that we kicked it off with, multifamily real estate is a very crowded market. And we've had a couple, very successful ags in this space. But what is the thing that they constantly say? You've got to bring value to your tenants. You've got to bring value to your investors. And you have to communicate that value properly. And if you don't, then you're just fighting a fight you shouldn't have to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this was pretty awesome season. We had some awesome people that came on.
Yeah.
I do know that every single one of these entrepreneurs that we talked with, whatever stage that they are in their journey, right? All of them came down to those two things, in my opinion, right? The value that they had about their products, their service, their time, right? Their products, whatever, as well as that overarching theme to me, of it's about being part of something bigger.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Whether you're in school currently as a student entrepreneur, we had a couple of those, whether you're going through, you've served as a veteran and now you're out of the military service, which is part of something that's much bigger. And now you're an entrepreneur, or whether you're just like me, you're just starting it up in the last 6 months and starting your entrepreneur journey. It is about being about something bigger and the value. Well, Ags, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Aggie Growth Hacks. We hope that you've enjoyed season 7. Chris and I loved it. This is honestly a highlight of our month, to be able to talk with Aggie entrepreneurs when we do the recordings, and we hope that you've gotten value out of it. We hope that you've connected with some of these Ags and really grown your business and improved your business. If you haven't, make sure you reach out to Chris and I. We would love to be able to do an email introduction or a LinkedIn connection or something to be able to help you improve your business and strengthen what you've got going on.
We want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship at Texas A&M University. Since 1999, the McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship has served as the hub of entrepreneurship for Texas A&M. We also want to give a huge shout out to the Angry Elephant and Greg Jasper for hosting us for our first ever live event. If you're around the College Station area or any place that they are opening up all of these great Angry Elephants, be sure to head on over there and to get the, what was it? The Hong Kong
Phooey.
Hong Kong Phooey hot dog. All right. It's amazing. Trust me on that one. Well, Ags, this is going to do it for this episode. Thank you for joining us for this season. Be sure to tune in on season 8. Our first episode that we drop is going to be a huge one. You want to talk about that, Greg?
Yeah, I'm not gonna name drop or anything, but Ags, we have got lined up an interview with an entrepreneur. He's not an Aggie. He went to Virginia Tech, but he is a influential entrepreneur, an author, and someone that has not only impacted both Chris and my life from a professional and personal standpoint, but he's kind of a linchpin in the whole relationship between Chris and I and how we started. So if y'all have ever heard our origin story, you probably know who we're talking about, but it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait.
Oh, yeah. I'm completely geeking out about it because I am a super fan of this author. Well, Ags, join us next time when we connect with another great Aggie entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter.
And I'm Greg Martin. Thanks and gig 'em.
Whoop.